Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm sitting here in my studio with Kate Micucci, whom I have not had on the show in many, many years. Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. It's good to see you. And also, this is so funny, doing a podcast. Like, it's been so long since I've done an in-person podcast.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm like, I actually get to look into your eyes. This is so wild.
Is everything on Zoom for you now?
Mostly, yeah. Almost completely on Zoom. Yeah.
It is convenient. Like, there's still podcasts I do on Zoom, but now that it's safe to be back in person, I vastly prefer it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just timing wise, it's, that little delay can be. Yeah.
Totally.
But thanks for having me. I was just saying, we were saying how I was here. We think maybe 2015.
2015. Yes, you were at my the place I lived before this when I called it Dining Room Studios because it was in my dining room.
Yep.
And I actually just went back and listened to that episode.
Oh.
So I have all sorts of info about what we talked about then. There was going to be a special sunset. Do you remember that?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Are you still all about sunsets?
Yes. And we just moved and I'm so excited because I can see the sunset again. It's the show. Yeah. So yes, that's so funny. That sounds right. Wow. Yeah. I was really, for a long time, my Instagram was full of sunsets.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very embarrassing.
No, I think that's sweet. I think that's very sweet.
Oh, thanks.
So, okay. Actress, musician, voiceover artist, artist. What am I missing?
I think that's about it. I think mom. That's the thing that runs my days right now.
Wife,
yes,
person who, when I last talked to you, you have a skate ramp in your backyard, or you had?
We did. We just sold the house, but we had a half pipe. We had the dream, like the house I would hope I would have, like when I was 15, mm-hmm. Like half pipe. Your pool, like a giant hot tub, just like it was a mid-century house. It was very cool. And then we just moved. We decided, like, kind of very quickly to move to an apartment, which has been amazing. And it's so interesting because, like, I always think, oh, like maybe it's just how I was raised. Like, you gotta, a bigger house and a bigger house, and that's just like as you do well, you get a bigger place. And
the Jefferson's dream.
Yeah, and it's really crazy because for me, it's been so much easier to be creative in a smaller space, and I think that's just me personally.
That's so interesting.
I feel so much more free in my own brain because I'm not worried about like the moles that are chewing away at the dirt or like things that I was always having to deal with the house.
Stuff you had to manage.
Yeah. It just freed me up, and also less stuff. I have also learned that it's easier to like fill your brain with creative thoughts rather than like it's been helpful.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's just where I am now. Who knows what the next thing will be? I always love not knowing what the next thing will be, but yeah, I think it's gonna be. I don't know. I like living in a smaller space.
Are you kind of a minimalist?
I wasn't always. I just got rid of so much. I had a nun collection that I've been collecting for like 20 years, not like little figurine nuns, and I just gave them all away. Like I'm just kind of purging, trying to live simply so that I could then maybe perhaps make more stuff. But then also going through all of my storage that I've been going through. Like,
did you have a storage space or was this kept in the house?
Yes. Storage. Well, so I had a personal storage space and then Ricky and I had a separate storage space for like all of our merch. And then that kind of, we combined all of that then moved around. And then Ricky was like, I have a lot of boxes of your things. And I was like, oh, really? Like a lot? And she's like, yeah. And so I said, okay, I'll get them. And it was like maybe 30 boxes. So I just went through all of that and got rid of, I probably am down to like 4. And but in those boxes it was like a crazy person, like notes, drawing, so many drawings. That's the thing. Like,
is it hard to get rid of those?
Well, I'm okay with, my husband's very sweet. He doesn't want me to get rid of any art. So that's what those bins are just loose pieces of paper with drawings on them. But yeah, I got rid of like the bigger collections. I got rid of a lot of like paintings and things not that are not mine, but like just kind of trying to be more minimalist. I don't know, trying it out.
So when Ricky told you, hey, I have boxes of your stuff.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Because I would be like, oh no, more shit I have to go through. I've been putting off going through shit, excuse my language, for years. Like my mom would love me to take stuff out of her house. And I'm like, I would like to put that off.
Yeah, I had just gone through, it was sort of like I thought I had already gone through most of my stuff from the move. And then I was like, oh wait, there's more? There's that much more? Oh no. But in some way it was really nice to look through stuff. Like I found handwritten directions to my very first job. It was a commercial. I threw it away, but like it was cool to see. Like I was like, wow, that was the first thing I ever went to. And weirdly, it's like around the corner from where I now live, and I would never have known that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it was like this actual true full circle kind of feeling. But yeah, it was.
Was that the commercial where you're eating a candy bar in the movie theater?
You remember it? No, we talked about it. Okay.
I wish I'm so tempted to pretend that I just happen to remember that, but we talked about it on the last episode, and I had just listened to that. Yeah,
yeah,
the thing where they cast two of you, and you guys didn't know who was going to get the commercial until it aired, and your mom saw it because she was 3 hours ahead, and then it was like, "Hey, I just saw you on TV."
I was heading to a piano student, and I said, "If you see this show and you see that I'm on the commercial, if you see a girl eating a candy bar and it's me, call me. If it's another girl eating a candy bar, I didn't get the job." And it then ended up being that they used my take. And I thought for sure that they were going to use the other girl's take because it was a hot day and the candy bar melted and it was very funny and everyone was laughing. And I was like, oh, my candy bar didn't melt. and it ended up that they used it. But yeah, that's so funny that we talked about that the last time.
Were you tempted to keep that piece of paper? Because I as you can see, I have like a steno pad. How long? I was a journalist for years, and I always had various notebooks and things like that. And my plan has always been like one notebook for notes about my show, one for different whatever, but they all end up, it's just like each notebook represents a period of time in my life, and everything is in there. So when I look at old notebooks, and I looked at some that I had in college, there were tons of directions to things that were all kind of like attached to different, career points that I had or moments, but I couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah, I understand.
But I'm like a hoarder almost.
I fight that urge, and I think this was maybe the first time in my life where I was like, okay, I think it's time. Like I really had to like turn a corner, and this is all. Who knows? This could all come back around. Like already, my closet is starting to fill up with stuff. So my tendency is just to have a lot of things around. Right. But I'm really trying. But I threw away things that I thought I'd really want, and it felt really good, actually. But
I bet it does.
Yeah, I'm like, because I'm then also like, what am I saving this for? Like, what is this for? Like, no one's ever going to need this. And but like, I am
for
saving all the
museum retrospective show of your life.
That is, my husband's always like, is this the Museo de Micucci that we're gonna buy? Like, it would be a very funny, like the things I have and had, like weird stuff, like. Jake is my husband, and he'll always be like, oh yeah, here's like a small shoebox with a kazoo, some loose change, and a tooth. Like, that sounds right. It's just like the weirdest. So but yeah, I kind of took it on. Like, it was probably a 2-week project, and to be honest, I still have maybe another day or two to go through to set up stuff. But yeah, it was like, it became a job, and I really was excited about it.
What prompted the move?
We love to move. I think that's really what it came down to. When we got the house, we bought it in 2019. We restored this whole, basically it was a mid-century modern house that had never really been touched. The woman had lived there pretty much the whole time since like 1961, and she passed away in her 90s. And then we got the house, and we thought, okay, this is like the dream. But it was listed as a significant fixer. I didn't know what that really would entail. And it was almost probably a lot harder for us to restore it rather than like, oh, take out that kitchen and put a new kitchen. It was like, save this tile. This is special tile. Like, save this faucet. Save So working around the gems of the house was a lot harder. But then, but yeah, it turned out to be like an art piece, and really to my husband's credit, because during that time I was either pregnant and had a really rough pregnancy, or had a baby and had a really bad like postpartum. So like, I kind of really, all I did was pick the wallpaper. So But it ended up being this beautiful house, and we thought for sure we'd live there forever. And then one day we were like, I think we want to move again. But I will also say this. I've known Jake for almost 7 years, and I've lived in 7 places. So everyone had bets on how long we were going to be there.
Do you move once a year pretty much?
Yeah, kind of. We were in this house for 2.5 years, which was a pretty good run. Like I said, thought we'd live there forever. Who were we kidding? But yeah, I don't know. We don't even know where the next place is going to be, but it's exciting to like think about moving again. I think that's the exciting thing about making things minimal too, because then we're more movable.
Totally. You're more portable.
Yeah.
Who's, of the two of you, who's the one who gets the itch first?
I think Jake, definitely. Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, I also, though, I think I've lived in LA for 22 years, and I think I've lived in 13 or 14 places at this point. So I still had a pretty good record of moving.
Does moving stress you out?
No, I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
What is that like? I cannot even imagine.
I don't know. I feel like it's like it's something new, and I always feel like that's new energy, and like something good's gonna happen because we're moving. I don't know. It feels good, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just a nice thing to. Maybe too. It's who knows. Maybe this is just a weird sickness.
No, I know what you mean though about like something new and good is going to happen.
Yeah.
When I moved from New York to California, I was sad to be leaving New York. It's a long story why I moved, but I was sad to be leaving New York. But I had a lot of friends because I grew up here. I had a lot of friends here. I thought it was going to, it's going to be okay. But I remember I was like at the point where I was just like, I was laying on the couch at my parents' house where I was living again. And I was 35. So I was just like, I cannot believe.
You were in New York for a good chunk of time.
Yeah. I had been in New York for 10 years. Wow. Yeah. And then I was like, this move was a mistake. And then I got the Adam Carolla show. And like just in time, because it was just around the time where I was like, what have I done? Like I have made a terrible mistake. And then a few months after that, I met Daniel, who's my now husband. So it's like, I completely uprooted my life. And then like all these good things did come into my life, even though I hadn't thought that might happen. But I feel like if I hadn't, like, it's just, I wonder why it is that when you make a change, it does seem to like to allow space for good stuff, but it does seem to happen that way.
I think it does almost every time. I could say, oh yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe you could just say that no matter what. But yeah, I mean, a big move, especially from New York to LA, like, finding a big job and a husband is a really big deal.
Yeah.
But I think, I think it is about being open to the next thing, whatever that is, you know? And I like the not knowing. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why I can still like, acting is, a career of not knowing what's next. And so I think you get comfortable with that maybe. But yeah, I like the not knowing because maybe the next thing's really exciting,
How did you meet Jake?
Raya, the dating
Oh my God.
app. Crazy. I was his first Raya date.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Raya is this app that I am very fascinated with. And I'm like, I wish I could go on as a married person just to see if I'm allowed to be on. Who's on there?
I'm sure there's a lot of married people on there.
That's true. But you have to, they don't let just anyone on, right? You have to be like an artist or a creator or a celebrity. I think Moby's on there.
I think he is, or yes, was. I remember seeing him. I got on there when it really was early days of Raya. I think it's a little different now. I don't know exactly. But yeah, it was like a very interesting. I had never done a dating app before, and I liked it. It was like you never know. Again, it's like what could it be? What's the possibilities? And I had some really fun times on Raya. Yeah, I think it was a overall good. But with anything with dating, like I would do it for a while, and then I'd be like, okay, I need a break because it's kind of like a full-time job.
Totally.
And then, but then when I met Jake, we had so many mutual friends. It was really weird that we hadn't met before. A lot of his friends were my friends, so that was like really strange. Like we were always just a little bit, removed from each other. And then he had seen me perform at Largo with my brother. The first time he saw me, I was dressed as an elf making it snow. so that was
what was your
cool.
brother doing?
We were both dressed as elves.
Was it like a you and your brother? Was it?
It was the
what show was it?
Watkins Family Hour. Sean and Sarah Watkins.
Oh,
yeah.
I've had Sarah on.
Oh, you did?
And Sarah's husband, Todd Cooper,
Todd.
comes on. He's going to be on next week.
He's friends with Tony.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They did Felice Navi.
World.
I'm surprised I'm not dating any of you. It is a very small world. Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, and Sean and Sarah, they do these Christmas shows at Largo, and my brother and I were dressed as elves, and we had this big thing that we made it like snow on them as they were playing, and it was just really fun. And Jake happened to be in the audience, and I think I met him, I don't know, a few months later. So, and he had said, "I saw you as an elf," you know.
It's so funny, when you were last on, you were saying that you and Ricky both used to go out on auditions for elves or aliens.
Yes.
That's like how you guys described the roles that you would be, you know, thought of for, because you guys like big eye rolls.
Yep. Yeah. It's so funny. Ricky and I still like we would end up doing similar like things in jobs. Like I remember we were both pregnant the same week. I was for TV. I was pregnant on a sitcom, and she was pregnant on that show House. And then like that, we would just repeat ourselves in like the weirdest. Even in Wednesday, she's a taxidermist, and then I did a thing where I was a taxidermist. Like we're like, what is this?
That is super
so
weird.
funny.
What if you guys are the same person, just having different experiences in the multiverse?
I mean,
except why would you know each other?
That's true, but that's a really good trippy point.
It's a strong possibility.
I think I need to do some mushrooms and think on that.
Have you done mushrooms?
I have microdosed. Yeah, I love it. In fact, I'm back on it. I did it for 3 months.
Are you on it right now?
Yeah. Can you tell? No, I'm kidding. I feel like it's just been, for me, I started doing it last September I ended it around Christmas. I felt like, okay, I think I got what I needed to get out of it. And then I stopped. And then in the late summer, I started again. But it's been really helpful creatively. I feel like it, like, I felt like that portal that like, I was just like stuck. And I think a lot of that had to do with probably, you know, having a baby, having postpartum, having a pandemic at the same, like it was a lot of like weird stuff. And I just wasn't making things as naturally as I used to. But then after microdosing, I will say I felt like it went pop, and then I got all these ideas again. So I'm all for it.
Had you done macrodosing before? Because I've never tried mushrooms. My listeners are probably like, yeah, we know. You want to do it sometime. Like, I keep talking about how I want to do it because I hear so many amazing things.
Yeah.
I just haven't, including even we were talking about, you were very sweet and said you're so sorry to hear about my dad who passed away in July. So you know Allie Ward. Do you know Allie Ward?
Yes, I know Allie a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. She came on the show. Her dad died, I guess it's probably been about a year now. And she told me that about a month after her dad died, she did a pretty sizable dose of mushrooms for therapeutic reasons.
Yeah.
And it was all like very deliberate and intentional and planned out ahead of time. And it helped with her grief so much. So that's always kind of been in the back of my head too.
Yeah, I feel like there's that show, they talk about that with like, you know, just how it can be like really helpful in like getting either over something or like, and I don't know enough about it, but there's a Netflix show and I can't remember what it's called, but they talk about that in like pretty great detail. And yeah, people have like guided trips with that kind of thing. There's so much right now. And I think the thing I'm realizing, it's like, I feel like the microdosing mushrooms is like what moms do now. Like in the 60s, it was like pills and alcohol. And now everyone's like just handing out mushrooms.
So with microdosing though, do you not really feel it?
No, like I don't.
That's
like
so
I
you can drive and
totally like I don't really feel anything. But I think over time, at least this has just been my experience, over time it has just, I think I have OCD and I haven't been like diagnosed of whatever, but like I have what do you call it? Like just like the loops in my head, like the same thought over and over and over.
Intrusive thoughts or like
just like
rumination.
Yeah, just like I guess that would be it. Like thinking about one
obsessive thoughts.
Yes. And so, but I will say that was really helpful in like just alleviating that.
That's so interesting.
And so in the summer that was starting to come back again, and I was like, I think it's time for me to do some mushrooms again. And it's been helpful.
Can I ask, and you don't have to say, but like, what were the thoughts that came back in the summer?
Oh gosh, just like, you know, worrying about work. And again, we're in a strike. So it's like a lot of that, like worrying about work, worrying about things that, oh, I should have done that thing 10 years ago. Why did I say no to that? You know, like stuff that was so out of my control. Little things that would just, it was a lot of work related things. But yeah, they would just kind of come back around and for almost like really taking up a lot of space for no reason, you know? And so it's been really nice to like feel a little more free. And not to say that those don't come back or whatever, but it's been really helpful. And I when I was a teenager, I had really bad OCD, and I think maybe that's like, I don't know, I haven't like gotten the right diagnosis, or it went away a lot, but I had to like touch all of the framed pictures in my room a certain way before I could start my homework, and that would take like an hour.
Or else what would happen?
Or like my grandpa would pass away, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, which I feel like the more I talk to people about that, like it's kind of common, but
I think also especially in kids.
Yeah.
I remember you were saying that it was really hard for you. Like you would cry each day going to school because you missed your parents.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so, yes, I did. This is really therapy now. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, I feel like I did cry a lot. And in like through even college, I didn't want to leave. And then something happened and I moved to California and I was super happy. But yeah, I cried a lot and missed my family a lot. Like some weird attachment stuff, which like sometimes I wonder if it like goes back to like the family coming over from Italy in 1907 and like, I mean, there's like traumatic stories within that. I'm like, I wonder if there's some like weird
generation. I mean,
knows?
They say there's generational trauma.
Yeah, I don't know, but the few stories I do know about that, like there's some like my great grandmother, was that who would have come over, or great it was like 1907, and she got to the U.S. with her children, and then her husband passed away suddenly, and then she couldn't afford to have her, I think there were 5 kids. No. And so they all got split up to different places.
Oh my God.
And then she had heard about this man who needed a wife, and they said, if you marry him, you can get your kids back together. So she said, great. So they moved to New Jersey, and she was able to get her children back together. I always wonder, like, what was that like? Did she really like him? Was he nice? Like, apparently he was a nice man.
But like, also, how did she hear about him? There's a man who needs a wife.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Some Italian guy, and so then, yeah, but then those children who I knew as a kid, they all lived together. And
oh wow,
yeah, like
that's fascinating.
So it is interesting, but I mean, who knows?
Like as adults, they all lived together.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
like they were
wild.
Together from
in their 70s and 80s.
So to you, were they your?
They were my great aunts and uncles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is on your mom's? This is on
my
your
mom's side.
Mom's side.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes wonder, like, who knows? But if there's something, if that's some kind of generational thing, and then that's why I missed my mom and dad when I went to school.
Right. I was just thinking that I wonder, did you feel like they were the people who could keep you safe? Because I think a lot of the OCD stuff, I'm not a therapist, but I think it's like the rituals keep you safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think they do. It's that magical thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. So going back around to all of that like the wiring in my brain, it's like, I think microdosing mushrooms has been helpful in calming some of that like anxiety, but it's not for everyone, and also everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a friend who was doing it, but then he said, it's Greg Fitzsimmons, with whom I do Childish. Yeah. And I'm fairly certain he said this on air. He felt like he was just on mushrooms. I think his microdose was like too much, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of played with the dosage in the beginning to kind of figure out what was right for me. But yeah, I mean, everybody's composition is so different that like for me, I can't smoke pot. I can't do it
either anymore. Yeah.
And so it like doesn't work with, I get just like totally paranoid and useless,
Same.
So it's not
same.
It's
I get
not
very
a good
like
day.
locked inside myself.
Yes. Yeah.
So I last saw you, and what's crazy, it's almost a year ago now at not Doug Love's Movies. It was the
Christmas one.
Yes. No, it was the Hanukkah one, right?
Oh, Hanukkah. Yes. What was it?
Guests of Hanukkah.
That's what it was.
Right.
Yes.
But you've probably also done the Christmas one.
I've done the 12
right?
Days of Christmas.
Yes,
yeah, I knew it was around the holidays.
It was a holiday show.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's when we started talking about, you should come on my show.
And it's been this long.
Yes.
So
well,
I'm sorry.
It's me. It's, I think over the summer it took me a while to finally email you, and then we've been scheduling for a while. So
yes.
you do not owe me an apology.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to be here now.
Me too. But anyway, you were sharing with me your pregnancy, and you had just said now you had a hard pregnancy. Remind me what happened.
I had so the pregnancy was, I had 2 miscarriages prior to getting pregnant with Mikey. So the whole pregnancy, I was just nervous, because I think that like there was that blissful, like, oh, it's going to be great. Like I was constantly like, okay, I hope this goes well,
right.
And then, I think too, just because I have a tiny torso, and he was on my lungs that 3rd trimester.
Oh my God.
I couldn't breathe very well, and I couldn't, like, even walking the dog, like everything was really hard. It was hard for me to breathe. I was mostly just on the couch the last few months, which was just not great, and then on top of that, then when he was born, it was a very traumatic birth, had an emergency C-section, and then they punctured his lung right when he was born. So he went to the NICU. It was just like very traumatic. That was very traumatic. And for so long, I couldn't even talk about it. But knock on wood, it all, it actually, it ended up healing itself, which was amazing, because it was the day they were like, we're going to talk to you about surgery. And then they came the next day and they're like, it healed. And the crazy thing is that day before, I noticed that if I was holding him, they taught me how to read the breathing charts, like that was happening. And if I was holding him, he was fine. If I wasn't, it was going a little wonky. And so I was like, I'm just going to hold him all day as long as I can.
Yeah.
But I was also just recovering from, having major surgery,
right.
And was in a lot of
probably.
and on so many drugs, like just kind of out of it. But
like painkillers, like was this right after?
Painkillers, yeah. So then, and I had like even just trying to, go up there to the NICU and hold him. And I had a nurse that was not very nice and was like, you got to go back. I can see you're in pain. He's going to feel your pain. And I was like, I just want to hold him. And they're like, go, you got to, like, she was not nice to me.
She was a NICU nurse?
Yeah. And so I left, and I was just like, they won't let me be there because I'm hurting. Like, it was just a lot of, it wasn't very.
Was it Cedars?
Yeah.
Do you not want to say that?
I mean, I guess it was Cedars, yeah.
Because I had a not great experience with Elliot. Also, it doesn't sound like they didn't puncture his lung, but he also ended up in the NICU.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they kind of tough sometimes?
Yeah. I felt like the way I have described it is the NICU nurses were fine, actually.
Yeah.
But my labor and delivery nurse, I'm like, I just felt like I'm just like a body that has a baby inside.
Gosh.
I felt so dehumanized. My epidural didn't work. And when they put the catheter in, I felt it. Like I felt this like very uncomfortable feeling in my, just down there. And I was like begging them, like, please just take it out. Please just take it out. And they're like, we can't. So I felt like I was being like tortured. And then all of a sudden the nurse is like, wait a minute. If your epidural's working, you shouldn't feel this. And it's like, yeah, no shit.
Oh my God.
And then they finally, like, after all that, they finally, like, numbed me enough that I couldn't feel it. And then I started crying because it was like, and she's like, why are you crying now? And I'm like, have you never been around? It was just like countless experiences like that. I feel like it felt like they deal with pregnant women all the time and they're tired of it. Yeah, I was just one of like 8,000 pregnant women they've dealt with, as opposed to like an actual person who's going through a huge thing,
I understand. I felt the same way. I was like, they were moving my body in different ways. Like I had no say. It was just like,
yes,
it was very traumatic. That was prior to the birth, and then that whole
So had you gone into labor?
Yeah. And then for some reason he just like wasn't coming out. And like I was trying, and then they were like, it was just like over a day. It's all very foggy, but it was definitely over 24 hours. And they said, okay, we're just going to take him out. And then, so at that point I was like, yes, please, like do whatever. But then, and then even like, the C-section is no joke. And I didn't really know much about what that was like. And I remember at one point saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And they said, no, you're breathing. You just can't feel yourself breathing. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I had to like so many mind games.
Anxiety inducing.
Yeah. Like just being like, okay, I am breathe. Like trust this. Like trying to keep calm in those moments. And then
that sounds so weird that
it's all weird.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think it's not uncommon for women, especially with emergency C-sections, because you kind of don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
It's like just a crazy, like, and then my arms, I couldn't control my arms. They were, which is also, I think, a pretty common thing that happens. And I remember after they'd taken him out, they were like, do you want to hold him? And I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
How? And like my arms were flailing. And then they asked me again. And I was like, oh, like, I was like, this is horrible. Like I felt like a bad, like I wanted to hold him, but of course I couldn't. And then they had punctured his lung, and then they're like, okay, we're going to take him to the.
How did you find out they punctured his lung? And how did they do it?
We're not sure exactly, but I think my doctor and my husband said that, they have to get the goo out of the baby. This is real medical terms. They have to get the goo out. And, and I guess, if the baby goes through the birth canal, it just kind of naturally comes out. Mm-hmm. But because it's a C-section, they have to take like a suctiony thing. Uh-huh. And because we don't know for sure, but we thought that was then that they had done the suction too strong for, and that because I don't know what happened, but I remember.
So is it like a vacuum as opposed to like a aspiration
bulb? I don't really know because I wasn't watching it.
Yeah.
But
you're trying to control your arms.
Yeah. I had no idea what was going on, but I do remember hearing like a thing happen. And then my husband came over. He goes, okay, there was a little situation. They're going to take him to the NICU. And I was like, okay, but I was so out of it also.
So Elliot was, they broke my water. I was induced.
Okay.
It was a 41-hour induction.
Wow.
And they told me there was meconium. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
And they said that, I said, what does that mean? And they said, oh, it just means there'll be extra people in the room. That is not what I was asking, really. But I just allowed that to be the answer.
Yeah.
Like what I was asking is, no, what is the significance of it? But I feel like that also is like, just shine on the pregnant lady,
Yeah.
Or maybe whatever. I actually haven't spent a lot of time thinking about how that answer was not what I wanted, but it wasn't, it was like, just placate me. So he comes out, and I remember they like held him up and showed him to me. And I just remember thinking like, he looks different than I expected. 'Cause he was like, again, the first like just born baby I've seen, but just very green and a little like, like they're always like a little bloody, but he wasn't moving. He just looked like tiny little Frankenstein. I mean, the green is the meconium. Yeah. So then, Daniel cut the cord, but our doctor was like kind of rushing us like, okay, come on, cut the cord.
Yeah.
We got to get him breathing, and so then like,
whoa.
But again, I didn't know what to expect, so I'm just like so out of it and distracted. And like, I feel like, and I don't blame them for this, on purpose, they were like, look over here, keeping me over here. And then there's like, they have him at the warmer and they're doing stuff and time was very distorted, but it took a while. But then I didn't understand. Meanwhile, Daniel's over there thinking we're in the process of losing him. Like we were in two different worlds.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I guess I can eat now. I was just like thinking about, and then I remember thinking like, I feel like a bad mom because aren't you supposed to cry happy tears when your baby's born? But I was just like nothing, I was like a block of concrete. And then I heard them start counting and doing CPR or doing, I don't think they did the breathing, but doing chest compressions. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's not normal. And then I became cued in to what was happening. And then they finally then I got nervous. They got him breathing, took him to the NICU. And then it was many hours until they would let me up there. And the whole time I'm thinking, because I think it took 7 minutes to get him breathing. And I'm like, but a human can only go for like 4.5 minutes without air. Is he going to have like all this brain damage? The one time it's okay for them to take longer than that is like when it's, but I was so like, I felt like I was like orbiting the earth, like just so out of it, not, it felt like no one cared about me. It felt like I was just really sidelined.
Yeah.
And then finally, when I got up there, they put him in my arms, and then I just started crying. And it's like I came back to myself.
Because, you didn't get to hold him, or did you?
So I had like undone my gown to do skin to skin. We took all the classes, like everything. And so they brought him to me to let me hold him before they took him to the NICU. But he was like swaddled. He was like wrapped in towels and swaddled. And they like just put him on my chest for like a second. And I like, it wasn't what I expected or wanted. It was very like, I almost felt like, just take him. Like, you're not giving him to me.
Yeah.
Like, they're almost like showing. It was weird. I wasn't bonded with him in any way. I was just like, this is not happening. I don't even know what I was thinking. And then, sorry, this is not my interview, but I want to hear your story.
No.
Next.
This is, I think.
So he was born in February, and in July, I was like, this is more than baby blues. I can't stop crying. I didn't have the word intrusive thoughts, but all the time I was having, like I would be cutting something in the kitchen and I would imagine like knives cutting a baby. Not like I want to cut a baby, but just he's so vulnerable. We would be at the grocery store and I would be like, what if all the cans fall off the shelves and on into the stroller? At a restaurant, I was like, what if someone accidentally like throws their knife?
Everything you're describing, I understand. I remember I was washing bottles and I started crying going, they're drowning. The bottles are drowning. Yes. What if they were people like,
right.
Like
everything doesn't
make any sense.
I was thinking of hostages. I was thinking of the Holocaust. Like I couldn't help myself from like, I wanted to Google really like, I've said it before. It's almost like a joke at this point on my podcast, but like, what happened to babies in the Holocaust? Don't Google that. Like, very the darkest spots. And so then I went to therapy. I had been in therapy before, but I wasn't in therapy currently. Went to therapy, got on Lexapro, and I actually still see that therapist. And it's like that began turning things around. But yeah, I had like intense postpartum depression that I didn't realize.
I mean, it's sort of almost impossible to know unless you're keyed into it. Like, I wish I had known. I wish someone had said to me, look, you might not feel right. And the bummer part for my journey with postpartum, because I think if I were to look at it, I probably had it for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Before you got help.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the timeline. I started getting help a year and a few months into it. And then I think it took me a while to still, get out of it. So, but it was because also, I think had we not been in lockdown, I would have had help sooner. But I knew something was wrong. And this was March of 2020, but early. And I remember saying to the doctor, I need to go to someone who specializes in postpartum. I think I have postpartum. Like, I can't stop crying. So I went to someone, and I don't know if I just seemed fine in that moment or what. And I answered the questions, and I remember her saying, do you want to kill your baby? And I said, no, I have not had any of those thoughts. And I know that people do. And like, it's like,
but that's what I thought postpartum was,
right?
From all the magazines, like, I mean, all the articles in People magazine about, like baby killers, but postpartum is really just depression that happens after you have a baby.
Yeah.
It's usually not that extreme.
And I think too, I had, as far as like emotions in my pregnancy, I was totally fine. And I felt very happy aside from not being able to breathe very well.
Right.
But then all of that came crashing down. And it was maybe 5 days before lockdown or something. I went to this doctor and she said, oh, you just have the baby blues. And I still drive by that place and I get mad because I'm mad. I knew, even leaving, I was like, that's not right. I know. And I wish I had been on some kind of medication, but I didn't know. I didn't know enough. And I think there was just the double thing of happening of just then all of a sudden we weren't, the fear of COVID kind of took over in that moment. And it was just too many things happened, like as far as like me being able to sort out my stuff versus the world is crumbling. So it just like was a long process. But then what really helped me, because I remember at Mikey's first birthday, I was still just like a wreck. I was just like, this has been a year. And I talked to some friends about therapists, and I was led to a really great one who deals a lot with moms, and then so we did brain spotting.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And it was just a game changer in every way. Like going, you basically kind of like sit with your trauma and visualize it. And so like, you know, the story I told you about his birth, I wouldn't have been able to tell you at that point. And I was able to just visualize it and sit with it. And there's a lot of like, I don't know exactly how it works, but like looking at the wall, again, I'm doing this over Zoom, so it's probably different in person, but like looking at spots on the wall while listening to sounds, while thinking about these things. And just like my face would be completely wet. Like I wasn't even like sobbing. It was just tears, and I was just getting it all out. And I remember my therapist saying that if this works, it would probably take around 6 sessions. And I'll say at that 6th session, I was like, I think that this did work. Like
That's amazing.
And so, yeah, that was super helpful as far as dealing with that birth trauma and also dealing with the traumatic things that had happened with just postpartum things. But then, yeah, I mean, I think then that was like really my kickstart to feeling better.
Right. How long was he in the NICU?
5 days. So actually he got released before I did. But and it was really funny because like, you know, we were just crying and so upset. And, you know, like they had said, okay, we're going to talk about, you know, doing an operation and all this. And then we got this call, like actually it healed. Like it's just healed itself. Because I think they just regenerate so quickly at that age, you know? So we were so happy. And then we have this little baby in our room because I'm still in the hospital. And then he's crying. And we were like, oh. And then like, we're like, right. Like this is going to be hard to sleep. And then I remember a nurse who was very sweet said, do you want me to take him to the nursery? And I'm like, there's a nursery? Yes, please. So it was like, oh, we couldn't wait. And then all of a sudden I was like, but we need to sleep.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's so hard.
It's hard. It's just having a baby is very, at least in my experience, it was very tricky. And of course there are people, and I have friends who were like, I had a friend who had a baby and she was like, almost, I think, scared to tell me how easy it went because she knew my story. And it was really sweet though. She was just like, yeah, you know, it was great. But then later she told me that it just was like, the doctor was like, that was maybe the easiest birth I've ever experienced.
And was it her first baby?
No, it was her third. But yeah.
They walk out.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like, you know, and also too, like it took me a long time, you know, after like feeling excited for friends who were then like, I'm pregnant, I'd be like, oh no, like in my brain, like,
right. I know
it was so hard for me to like go through that. I didn't want my friend, you know, but you know, I got through all that. Now I'm happy again when people tell me.
Did you have the thing of like wanting to tell them like the truth that they don't know? Like to be, you know, these things that could happen.
I think the only thing that sometimes I want to tell people, but I have to stop myself from telling it, but we're talking about it. So it's like to know that postpartum is so common and that like, and it's so hard to know when you're in it and dealing with it to ask for help or you think you're okay. I mean, I must have said, I think I'm feeling more like myself 100 times before I actually felt like I found my like core again, you know, but I think, it's just so jarring. But I wished I had been on meds. I think it would have helped, you know.
Well, what did your husband think was happening?
We were both out of our minds. Like, I think, again, too, I think just because it was the pandemic and like here we were by ourselves, you know, we couldn't have friends around. And like, or if we did, they were far away. Like, you know, it was like talking to them across the yard.
Right.
I think that both of us didn't realize. And I think we were both kind of out of our minds, you know, but you know, it's kind of amazing that we got through it, you know, and also Mikey, knock on wood, is just, you know, he's totally fine. He was, you know, that was a blip, you know, as far as his first 5 days were, you know, lots of, you know, had a lot of little wires and tubes and things, you know, but then, you know, he's a really funny, fun dude. And like, I really enjoy it now. Like, it's great now. So
yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
We both have. Yeah. I remember just feeling like, I think I had this fantasy that when I have a baby, I will feel like, I mean, an adult, and also like I'm an adult who is capable of taking care of this child. And instead I felt like I had been through such hell that I felt like a baby myself almost. Like,
oh my gosh.
I felt very like, I'm not on solid ground right now. Like I'm very shaken up and I need help. And I just remember sitting, I don't know if these are still popular, but you know those bouncy exercise balls?
Yeah.
You know, the classes we had taken were like, you know, it's really soothing to a baby if you sit on that and bounce and kind of bounce with them instead of a rocking chair. So, and I did find that really helped soothe Elliot. But I just remember at 4 a.m, sitting there bouncing him and just bawling and just thinking like, I don't want to do this. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this right now.
And
I want to sleep.
I remember thinking, well, I thought I was going to love breastfeeding, and instead I felt super claustrophobic. I didn't expect that feeling, oh my gosh, like I felt like I was stuck in a small space, like
Yeah.
and like there were things where I thought it was going to be. I mean, so much I thought was going to be different, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our brains, our chemistry. It's like we're all so fragile, and I feel like, you know, in that moment, it's, you know, it's okay. Like I just hope, you know, I think the thing I always want to tell people is if you're not feeling like yourself, it's okay to ask for help, and like don't be
Yes.
afraid to ask for even like, you know, like go to a therapist and you know, sort out what's the best route for you, and feeling like more to yourself. Like it took me a while to be connected with Mikey. It took a while.
Did you feel guilty about that?
Yeah,
Same.
definitely.
Yeah.
Or I'd be like, oh, he's too heavy. I think he probably weighed like 8 pounds or something. I can't. He's too heavy for me. Like it was like I had this very strange disconnect.
My therapist says that like when someone or an experience causes you pain, like it makes sense that it takes a while to connect with them. Meaning
Yeah.
like this baby, that experience like was painful on many different levels for you.
And not only then there's the sleep deprivation on top of
Yes.
all of that. So that's also torture. But yeah, but everybody. I mean, the things we're talking about, it's so. I mean, how many people have gone through this, especially, you know, just even without the postpartum, just the sleep deprivation and raising a infant is so hard. So it is common, but it's like, I think, I feel like more and more people are talking about postpartum in ways.
I think so too.
And I think it's important. But I think too, a lot of people, once you get through it, and I know this was my thing when I was in it, I was like, I need to make art about this. I need to write about this. I need to tell people about this. And then like, once you're out of it, it's like, I don't want to think about it. You know? And I think that's my theory is like why we don't have a lot of stuff about it, is because women who get on the other side of it don't want to think about it, you know? Like,
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. After Elliot was born, I thought like, well, I'm still laying there. I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I'm never doing this again. And then within a matter of weeks, I was like, next time I do this, I'm going to, you know, here's what I'm going to change about it. I was like, it's the craziest thing, the way biology is like coming in and tinkering with my memory of it already.
Yeah.
Or it felt like very, it felt like a hormonal chemical shift that was allowing me to all of a sudden change my mind about it. It was so strange because I was so sure I did not want to experience that again.
Did you feel like in part of wanting to do it again in those moments, was it like trying to redo it and do it better?
I always knew I wanted 2 kids.
Okay.
If I could have them.
Yeah.
I wanted 2, but the second experience was very therapeutic and was very healing.
I've heard that. I have friends that have now had a second who had a rough time, especially a lot of the pandemic moms that I've, you know, been in mom groups with the same age.
Right.
Like, because we all had it kind of weird, you know, and
Totally.
they're getting to do it again and they're feeling better about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to a different hospital, different doctor. We had moved, so it made sense to go to a different place anyway. I was in therapy at that point. And my therapist had said, you know, it can be a really healing experience. And I didn't understand how. I didn't understand why. But then on the other side of it, like it really was. And we had spent time, you know, talking through everything, which if I had known to do that before Elliot, I wish I would have, but it didn't occur to me. It didn't really occur to me that like, this can be an experience filled with mind. It's a minefield, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it really helped me.
That's so nice that you got to like
have a do-over.
A do-over. It is like, it's funny to say a do-over because obviously your first is still like doing great. And,
Right.
but it's like for you.
Yes.
For your
Yes,
experience.
totally.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, I had that instinct for a little while where I was like, I need to do this again. I need to do this again and do it better, different. But then once I got out of it, I was like, I'd only ever really wanted one boy. That was my
Right.
dream. So I felt like I did it. And,
Oh my gosh. And you wanted a boy and you got a boy.
yeah, I was so stoked about it. But yeah, I feel like, you know, I just can't see doing that all over again. You know?
No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, I really think it comes down to like how you envision your family
Yeah.
looking and what works for you. What
Definitely.
made you want a boy?
I think because I was like a kid that played, like I was a tomboy that played with, like I just feel like I know how to play with boys, you know, like, you know, right now Mikey's super into Ghostbusters and like, I feel like I had all like G.I. Joes because my brother had the cool G.I. Joes. I wanted G.I. Joes. Like I felt like I just knew how to handle a boy in a way that I wouldn't know how to like play with a girl as much. I don't know.
That's kind of how I felt about wanting a girl.
Yeah.
So happy I have sons. Like the second they were here, I never wished they were something else. But when I found out I was having a boy, I was like, I don't know the first, because I have a sister. I have
Right.
older brothers, but they're 11 years older. So
Got it.
I was like, I don't know the first thing about raising a boy. You
Yeah.
know? But okay, let's see. I've written down some things
Oh,
here.
great.
All right. When you were last on, you said you don't know how you were talking about when you started getting sent out for commercials and things like that. And that was like when there was this switch to wanting quirky people.
Right.
And you said, I don't know how I feel about the word quirky. And I'm just wondering now, how do you feel about it? And do you still feel like you're, you know, seen that way?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've thought about the word quirky. You know, I think at the time too, I was doing a lot and like, you know, I think ukulele and quirky kind of go hand in hand. So I was probably hearing that word a lot at that time too. But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably not my favorite word, but it hasn't even popped in my brain in a long time but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that it's like an easy way to describe what I do. Like if you were to like see the boxes of kazoos and change and a tooth, that would qualify as quirky. So I get it.
Are Garfunkel and Oates still together?
Yeah, I mean we're not currently like performing or writing new things at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get back to it at some point. It's just you know, Ricky has a little boy now too, and yeah, we've just been working on separate projects. But in fact, I just talked to Ricky today. We're, you know, I'm sure down the line we'll get back to it. But I think yeah, just at the moment we're doing lots of different projects, you know,
Right.
different things. But to be honest, for me, it's been just like figuring out how to make things and be a mom. Like it has been a very hard juggle. It still is, and I have not figured that part out yet. So I can only handle a few projects at a time. I'm not able to like go for it, you know.
What have you been working on lately?
Well, lately I've been drawing a coloring book.
Oh my gosh, that's so
going to go
exciting.
along. It sounds so again quirky, but it's going to go along with the album. My album comes out on November 3rd, and so I got to get it in by Monday to get it in time for November 3rd. But yeah, I mean, I'm always making art and drawing, and I just haven't quite figured out, like, you know, I've been doing a lot of art for the album as well, but yeah, that's kind of all I've been up to other than hanging out with Mikey. It's just drawing a coloring book, and I get moments because you know, we don't really have a lot of help at the moment, so it's mostly I can work during his nap time and stuff. So I watch a lot of Forensic Files. I'm not sure why, and actually I do know why, because it's 22 minutes and they always solve it. But it's a great thing to listen to while drawing. So, but yeah,
Is Forensic Files fiction or is that real?
That's real.
Okay.
And if it's too much, I sometimes have to turn it off. But they made like 400 episodes starting in the mid 90s. They're all on YouTube, and it's like small bites of.
Do you find it comforting?
Yeah, and
Because I went through a Law and Order SVU phase. Now that is very much fiction, but you know, based on real events.
Right.
But I found that weirdly comforting because they do always, like, the good guy wins. It's not ambiguous.
Yeah, I find it. I mean, I don't know why I find it comforting, but I think, I mean, not to get to the world is so out of control and sad and crazy, and there's like something about being able to wrap my head around an arson that happened in 1984. You know, like I don't know what that is, but I think a lot of people watch true crime, and I don't know what the psychology is of it, but yeah.
Have you always liked true crime?
Yes, I always have. But certain ones are too much for me. I can't handle I have to be picky and choose. Like, you know, there are certain crimes that are just too brutal to really go watch. You know.
Right. So tell me about your album.
Oh yeah, I have. It's been kind of classified as a kids album, but a lot of the songs. I mean, some of the songs are 20 years old. Been wanting to make an album of solo songs that are, you know, things that have, you know, been collecting through the years. And then I feel like in some way it was like my husband, who's a music producer, I had said I really wanted to make an album. He went, all right, I'll do it. And I was like, actually, like, oh, I wasn't even saying that. That's for you. Like, I can do it. And he was like, no, we'll do it. And it was in a time when I was really just starting to come out of my postpartum depression. And it really also, that was a great project to have to like help me kick me into like this gear of like, oh yeah, I do this stuff and I've written these things, and it was really fun. And we recorded all on tape, which is super fun because it's all very in the moment, and you know, the drummer's playing drums and Jake's on bass and I'm singing into a microphone all at the same time, and it's like so really fun. Live. Yeah. So it was a really fun, very like it felt spontaneous in a lot of ways. And
is every like were there any parts that like you guys recorded after? And and I was learning as we went. Tracked.
Yeah, so like then like it was all to tape, so it's on the track, and then it like then Jake could make it onto one track, so then we could add more. So like we had a guitar or piano or a bell or whatever as it went through. So I don't know. I'm not doing any of the right terms, but I had some really great friends who played on the album, and it was just such a fun project, and it went really fast, like because of that too. It feels, in my mind, the album feels very alive, and it's a couple songs I wrote for Mikey, but mostly they're songs I've been writing, since college even.
Right. And who plays on it?
Well, so it's Jake, my husband, and then he plays bass on it and guitar. Sometimes my friend Sean Watkins from Nickel Creek, Sarah Watkins from Nickel Creek's on there. Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco played drums and piano. He was great because we were just having such a good time. He'd be like, all right, do it again tomorrow. And be like, okay, great. Like it was just like a fun, like friends just getting together and all for these really odd songs,
That's so cool. Yeah. And then you sing, and do you also play instruments on it?
Yeah, I play piano on a bunch of tracks, and I think that's really it. Maybe ukulele on, I'm not even sure. I think I mostly just played piano on things, and then I sing.
Where did you guys record it?
At my husband's studio, which they call the Bad Place, because there's a really nice studio next door. So there's like the most fancy studio, and then there's the Bad Place. And then we've been doing shows at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, which has been such a fun time. I don't know if you've taken your kids there.
I haven't, but who was it? One of my kids' teachers was like, have you taken him yet to the Bob Baker Marionette Theater? And we have not. I know we need to go.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing my show on November 5th. If you want to go at 4:30, let me know. I'd love to have you guys there. It's going to be the album release show. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I love puppets. I've always loved puppets. So it's a real thrill to be singing my songs and have all these marionettes dancing around you. It's like very cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The album's called My Hat. It's one of the tracks is called My Hat, and so then the album's called My Hat, which is kind of funny, I guess. I don't know.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then is your art on the album cover?
It's not on the cover, but it's on a lot of the singles, and then it's on all the merch. So if you want a hat that says My Hat, get ready.
Oh my gosh, I am seeing the time.
Oh,
okay. Remind me. Did we say 5:40 or 5:30?
5:40. Is that
5:40. Okay? Yes, that's totally fine.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right. Here's what we have to get done.
Okay.
Just mirror everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Yep.
And then when you were last on, you told me that when you and Ricky first met, you guys would go to California Pizza Kitchen and you would write your goals on napkins, and you still carry one around with you. And I jotted down the things that were on you read the napkin to me.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, it was like, you guessed it was like 4 years old.
Okay.
So I was gonna read the list to you to see if these are even still your goals. If you
Great.
Okay. And then also I'm curious, do you still carry a napkin around with goals?
I don't. I probably should get back to that. However, I will say going through all of my stuff, all the napkins that I came upon, I didn't throw any of those away.
Okay.
Those are still in the boxes. I'm not getting rid of those. They're too special.
And I'm looking to see. I guess I didn't. I think my husband has my glasses. That's fine. I can still make it out.
Do you want me to read
All right.
them?
No, you would not be able to read my writing.
Oh, gotcha.
I have that kind of writing. All right. Make a TV show, which you had already done then.
Oh, yes. So we did. Yes. We have not made one since, but I guess we did that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Many of them, when you read them at the time, you're like, we have done that one or we're doing that one. Write a musical and put it up in LA and then Broadway.
I still haven't done that one. No.
Is that still a goal?
Yes, for sure.
Record a new album and finish other album. Which I think you had done.
Oh gosh, we probably at that point had one coming out, and I guess then this one would maybe count as the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Late night TV, which you guys had done.
Yeah.
Make books.
I still haven't done that, and it's I have so many under my bed and in these boxes. I have so many books I've written, so working on it. But I guess I'm making a coloring book.
I think that counts. Yeah, and
I don't
then
know if it's as good, but
1 hour special, which you guys did.
we did,
right?
Yeah, we did the 1 hour special, especially if this was 2015. So yeah, hey, not bad.
It's pretty good.
Still need to make the Broadway musical and a book.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to write that on a new list.
A new napkin. Okay. Do you have a Just Me or Everyone?
Yeah, I got one for you. It actually circles back to the OCD thing.
Okay.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right, it's going to sound really weird. But when I had OCD, when I was 12, 13, 14, I lived in a pretty rural town. And every time I saw a driveway when we were driving, I had to squeeze my butt cheeks. And I noticed this summer, I was in the same town visiting my mom and dad, and I'm like squeezing my butt cheeks every time. And I'm like, wow, it's still in me. Just me or everyone? I don't know.
That's amazing. There's no way it's just you, because even the most unusual things, there's someone else. I do not have this, but like, so you're basically like doing Kegels.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, just my butt muscles are.
But why do you think?
No idea. I think it started when I was like, a kid. And I think there were many years I didn't do it, but I still, or again, this summer, caught myself doing it.
But you don't do it around here.
No, I think there's too many driveways.
Yeah.
This would be just like, you drive and then maybe a minute later, there's another one.
So it was possible. This is fascinating. If you also clench your cheeks when you pass a rural driveway, please let us know.
Yeah, I really want to know that person if they do it.
And then also, do you have a hey, go fuck yourself?
Yeah. Squats. When working out, squats.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
I don't like doing those. But I just started working out this year for the first time in my life because I was told that I have parts of me are osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is like pre-osteoporosis. And that I have to work out 3 times a week doing weight training. This is what I was told. And it was finally I started working out 3 times a week. And I can do a push-up for the first time in my life, which is exciting, but I don't like squats.
How do you feel overall like working out now?
I love it now. And now I like, I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So then by Sunday, I'm like, I got to do it again. I've never thought I would be that person. I never had to do that before. But the doctor really scared me. He was like, if you don't do something now, when you are in your 60s, you're going to be miserable. He's like, for your age, your bones should not look the way they do, because they did a scan on me. And so I was like, okay, I guess I got to go to the gym. Yeah. And then I forever didn't schedule it because I'm like, how am I going to do this?
Right.
And then my therapist was like, you put it in your schedule and you go. And I was like, okay. It helps that I really like my trainer and I really like my gym, and I take it pretty serious. Like when I think about this year, I haven't done that much, but working out has been the most consistent thing, which sounds kind of lame.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it, especially when there's like a health reason that you need to be doing it.
I mean, I think it's taught me a lot about my ability to be able to do it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't I like certain things a lot in it, but then the squats, whenever we get to the squats, I don't want to do it.
So that's so interesting. So by working out, you can change your bones?
Yeah, apparently.
I didn't know that.
I guess because, I mean, the little I know, I guess osteoporosis is like your holes are in your bones, I guess, and they're very weak. And he said to me, he was like, if you fell, you could break your back right now.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh no. So I couldn't go on the skateboard ramp. But
were you skateboard? Oh yeah,
I was just doing a little bit. I never dropped in. It was too big for me.
Right, but you skateboard.
Yeah, I do skate, but I haven't in about a year for fear of falling. But I don't know. I'll be curious. I'll get another scan in January, so we'll see if I am any stronger. I don't know. I'm definitely stronger in life, but I don't know if my bones, how they're looking.
Do you feel like your body has changed how it looks?
Yeah, I think, well, too, because I think I was still like that postpartum body, which is very normal.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I actually like I can lift things, and I can lift Mikey, which is like another reason to like. I was like, oh right, like I can actually pick him up. So you know, the 8-pound baby that I was like, he's too heavy. Like
I had the same thing.
Yeah.
Like carrying. We had one of those car seats that like you take the whole car seat out and then you click it in.
It's hard.
I found it really hard to carry that car seat with him in it, which really isn't that heavy, but for some reason I could barely do it. And then I saw this other mom in the Mommy and Me group that I was in, like she just had it slung on her arm like it was just like a purse. Like, how are they? I am the weakest human being in the world.
I think they're really awkward, those things.
That too. Like there's no comfortable way. But if you think I think the car seat weighs 14 pounds and then the baby is, 8 or whatever.
That's a lot.
I also I always wanted to do baby carrying, like to have the baby in a carrier or a sling or all those. And I had them and I would do it a little bit, especially with Owen, my second. But I always found that to be like it hurt my back.
Me too.
I couldn't.
I didn't do it. I had we had the same experience where I thought, oh, it'd be so fun to bop around with, and I'd be like, he's too. I can't.
Yeah, it's not comfortable.
Yeah. But also, after having a baby, I feel like your core is just gone.
That's what I've been because now I'm like 4 years out from my second one.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing just how, like, this is so stupid sounding, but like, I'll be standing in the bathroom putting on makeup, and I'm like, if I let my stomach out, like, if I exhale, then that doesn't feel right. But if I suck it in, that doesn't feel right. Like, I can't find the right place for my midsection to be. And I think it's because everything's all mushy and loose in there. And I have like diastasis recti a little bit, which is where the muscles separate from. All of us, I couldn't figure out what it was. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's from these babies.
Yeah. They tear you up.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know?
Right. So I should apply what your therapist says to my schedule. You just schedule it.
Yeah, you just schedule it. And I was like, oh. And I will say, like having a trainer, which it's an expense, but it's one that I like right now. I don't want to hurt myself in doing the things. I don't know how to do it otherwise.
Right.
I'd rather have someone guide me and be there to make sure I don't drop a weight on my face, you know? So, but it's been so great mentally too, which is all the cliches. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, it'll be interesting to see how my bones look.
Yeah. You must let us know.
I will. Everyone's going to be on the edge of their seats.
Yeah. Please tell us. Please. Kate, it was so nice having you on the show.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Is there anything? Okay. November 5th, you said, or November 3rd?
November 5th, we'll be at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater. It has not been announced on the site, but it will be probably next week. So,
okay. But the album release date is what?
November 3rd. My Hat. And the new video for one of the songs called Grocery Store just dropped today. I'm really proud of it. We kept going to different grocery stores until we got kicked out, and then we'd go to another grocery store, and it turned out really nice.
Who kicked you out the fastest?
Oh gosh, this Ralph's in Pasadena. They were like, "Are you filming?" And we can't lie. We're like, "Yeah." Like, you can't do that. We're like, okay. We went to Whole Foods and to another Ralph's, but it was fun.
That's funny. I got to check that video out.
Yeah, it just came out. It's really cute, I think.
Tell everyone where they can find you and what they should be looking out for. Obviously, the album. Yeah. The coloring book.
Yes. You can just find me on Instagram. It's just my name, Kate Micucci. Same with I don't know, is it Twitter, X, whatever? I don't know. I've been posting on there just about my album, but that's about it. I feel like I hope you like the music. I'm really proud of this little album. I think it turned out really sweet.
I cannot wait to check it out. I'm so excited. I had you on not even knowing this album was about to come out.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect timing.
It is perfect timing. Yeah. So thanks.
You're so welcome. And follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on TikTok, but I don't do much, but follow me there, the Allison Rosen. Follow me on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. I am on Patreon, patreon.com/Allison Rosen. It's a real theme with the names, you know?
I think keep it consistent. You did great.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have merch available. If you go to AllisonRosen.com, you'll see where you can check out the merch store. I'm very happy with all of that and excited that I have merch finally. And I have a it's too many things. I think I read that like choose one thing to promote, you know, and I'm like, and the 14th thing I want to mention is I have a newsletter that I'm sending out now. Check that out, AllisonRosen.substack.com. And finally, if you enjoy what you're hearing, or even if you don't, please make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen and leave us a nice review, 5 stars, etc. Kate, thank you. And thank you for listening to me just do all my plugs for 5 minutes.
No, you did great. I hope everyone does all the things.
And I hope they do all your things.
Thanks. And thanks for having me on. And I'm really glad we got into the postpartum thing. I think hopefully if anyone's going through it, that maybe we help them out a little.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because there's so much you encounter that's just like, it's wonderful. And I realized my purpose the second they put him in my arms. And it's like, it's not like that for everyone.
No, maybe a year later, I was like, oh, yeah, great.
Yeah. That's you. Yeah, I know. Thank you again. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show?